back. We've got the Despicable Me 3 trailer, and to break it down, Andy Signor, Eric Eisenberg, with us on socials, Danielle Radford. All right, we're gonna talk about it after we watch it. JTE, make it happen.
Oh, Papagena, Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig. Banana.
There's Kyle, the dog.
And I think that's kind of a
Trey
reference
Parker.
to the first trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that it's continuing.
Yeah.
The Trey Parker thing looks cool.
Really good to snuggle with.
Oh, Agnes is the cutest.
Since you don't have a job, I just wanted to help.
Excuse me. Hey, could you? Oh, of course.
He's like a skinny Mr.
I
Ramsbottom.
was sick.
This elicited the biggest laugh from my 5-year-old. He really liked that.
Oh, violence is so good with 5-year-olds.
Right.
Oh, I really must have a word.
He
with
survived
you.
it fairly well, though.
Yeah,
I gotta give
it's
him
great.
credit for that.
Drew.
What? Twin brother?
Brother, big brother.
Big Buta?
I can't wait to meet my brother.
Glowing hair.
Of course.
So much to covet.
What's the difference between me and you?
Who doesn't love this guy? Look at him. Oh, but hair would make you better. Look at his face.
I can appreciate that Steve Carell's doing a different kind of voice here, too. Yeah.
He's wearing a white outfit.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, white to make
White
him look like
scarf.
he's good,
Right, yeah.
but you know that means he's just bad.
Right.
This is amazing.
It's a cover.
It's nice, I guess. Sure.
trying to work.
I'm not really into things. Basic groove. Villainy is in your blood.
C'est gros con boobs.
Guruk on boobs. He's speaking Spanish there.
Did that get a giggle from the
Yeah,
son?
yeah.
I left that life behind me. Just one heist.
One last nice plot. Was it classic, right?
Yeah.
One last job.
Especially a family job.
Right.
If only Vin Diesel had been the voice of Drew.
Oh man.
That would have been funnier.
That would have been
This is Sasha's
great.
dream.
Look the same but totally different.
Yeah.
Nicer, cooler voice.
I'm okay.
What's the difference between me and you?
Like that cast.
Then we are going back to being villains.
Luca. Bueno.
He's saying bueno. It's always
There's a little bit of Spanish in there,
A
yeah.
little Spanish, a little Russian, a little made up.
Yeah, right. All right, summer.
Just enough minions.
yes.
Not too much.
Just enough
Just enough.
minions. Well, look, we can hate on the minions. I get it.
Yeah.
I am a fan of Despicable Me 1 and 2, but I hated the minions.
Yeah.
in the movie.
Totally.
Like the thing is, they just since the beginning have come across to me as kind of just a ripoff of the aliens from Toy Story, and they just kind of seem like the idea that you put them in different costumes and you don't need to change the toy printer. You can just change the costume that the toy is printing out of, and I don't know. Yeah, Minions is not my favorite, but yeah, agreed that they are kind of minimized in this
I
trailer,
actually
which is
love them
appreciated.
as comic relief. I
Yeah.
just don't love them when they're given, like you said, an entire
Entire movie,
film
yeah.
to just run roughshod. Now I'm very stuck on the idea that Vin Diesel could have been this voice.
Right?
That would have been
Awesome.
really cool. But the big conversation we were having before we started is, why is Trey Parker in this movie?
Yeah, that's a
Why,
great
when you
question.
have one of the longest running
He
shows...
has a kid.
He has a 4-year-old
So
kid
you think
now.
it was,
Yeah.
it's for, I did it
I mean,
for
I know
the
he still
little
like
baby?
his kid says the F word as Kyle on the show. Like it's a really funny YouTube clip if you watch it. But yeah, he's a dad. He's got, I'm sure he wants to take his kid to other movies too. It's a good paycheck. It gives him
sure.
another voice gig.
But at the same time, it's surprising.
He works with
because-
Steve Carell, Kristen Wiig. It's a fun crew to be with.
Yeah.
It's a surprising move, though, simply because, Trey Parker has never really done anything like this. He's spent his entire career doing all of his own stuff, be it South Park or Book of Mormon or, Basketball with technically his own script. So it is just interesting to kind of see him move on to material. And I'm curious, actually, what it's going to drive him to beyond Despicable Me 3. Like, if he's going to be game to start taking on more performances in bigger movies. And,
If it does, what would you like to see him in?
ooh, well, I'm not sure I'm actually in favor of him doing that because I like Trey Parker as a director and a creator so much that the thing is if you think about what we've actually gotten from him in the last few years, we've gotten South Park and we've got Book of Mormon. That's
Yeah,
about it.
but I think he's a great. I think voice acting is a perfect thing for him to go do a gig and not have to. I don't see him as an actor. I love basketball, but that wasn't his strong suit. I think the voice work is where he excels. So I think it's cool to see him back, and I'm sure being a dad helped, and being with his cast helps. Like Bill Hader writes on South Park. Like it's a community that I'm sure someone vouched and said try this, and he's like, yeah, okay, that sounds fun.
I can do that. What, speaking of fun, really spoke to you in that trailer? What are your favorite parts?
Well, I mean, it screamed a little bit to me of a famous Simpsons episode with Unky Herb, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where Homer has the long lost brother, and then of course there's Unky Herb. He has hair, he's rich. It's sort of the opposite of Homer. But then of course Homer destroys his life by creating the Homer, the car. Right. But that was my first initial thing, and it's a fair. I don't think it doesn't look like they're stealing the entire plot of it, but
the comparisons
other things have done.
Twins with especially
people have done this before. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so
and one person's got everything, and the other person
has nothing. Yeah.
Well, but does he have everything? Because Gru has family and love and minions.
Yep, that's what's going to come out.
Is just empty, but he's got lots of.
Gru's going to get. I suspect Gru will get very insecure and sad and think that he has everything, but then he'll quickly realize he has Lucy and the kids. And look, I think these movies are adorable. The first two Despicable Me's have really cute moments, and I think this sets up a fun, fun way. I don't know if this will be more than a trilogy, whatever. Minions to me was a complete misstep, and it almost tarnished the brand. They were missing Gru tremendously because Steve Carell's actually really funny as his character, I think, and grounds them and creates a funner plot. So I'm excited to come back, and I hope and I think this could finally wash a little bit of that sour Minions taste out of people's mouth. Because
for such a sour taste, you do a really good Minions impression, and so does Eric.
Hey now,
and Eric goes, banana. I have no idea. I just know, ew. That's it.
Sorry, structure.
But the Minions are great. Gru is great. Are we basically seeing them set up a new trilogy where it will be Drew going off to have adventures? Do you think that's what they're doing?
I think that's a one character, but go ahead. What do you think?
No, I think that's kind of the same thing. Honestly, I'm kind of wondering even where Drew's going to stand at the end of this movie, whether he's going to be kind of joining the family dynamic or if he's just ultimately going to be proven to be kind of the larger villain on beyond what Trey Parker's character is doing, because that's just a move that you can do. Personally, though, I mean, I don't think that they should get rid of Gru. That isn't necessarily something they should do, because I mean, people have fallen in love with this character, and I guess it wouldn't make sense to kind of spin off Drew in his own thing. I think it's good for one story that you want to tell, and
I mean, these movies have always been best when they were the family stories, because the first one has this really amazing subplot about adoption, which is like it sneaks into this sort of silly kids movie, and he adopts 3 kids and for nefarious reasons, but then comes to love them. And then in 2, he meets Lucy, sort of the wife. So I like that they're embracing the family. I like it's like Fast and the Furious, so that's why Vin would be even better. I think this is a good sign of. I liked the first trailer with Trey Parker and the big gum ship action scene was a good sequence. My kid loved it. These are kids movies, but it's like as long as it can please the kids and keep us grown-ups like sort of smiling and having fun, it's a success in my mind.
Do you want Drew to stick around then?
I mean, I know. I mean, I feel like new characters, more stuff. Like he's a supporting character, but I don't need 2 Carells forever.
Okay, so most films don't go beyond 3. If this goes 4, 5, 6, however long, if it does Fast and Furious, where do you want to see the franchise go?
Well, I don't want the brother to come back, because we were talking about this before tape, but like the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou episode spawned Can You Spare a Dime? He comes back, and then Can You Spare 2 Dimes? He comes back. Like the Simpsons have fallen into that trope of going to the well of those same characters over and over again, and I think push yourself to new areas or figure out new goes. I mean, it'd be also interesting to see the kids grow up. It's like How to Train Your Dragon is doing that really well, where he grows up. What's his name?
Toothless.
Nope, Toothless. I was going to say Toothless.
The kitty dragon.
I'm drawing a blank.
Wait, hold on. So am I. This is a good moment to go to Danielle Radford, who's on fact check. Danielle.
Let's see what I got.
His name is. I just watched it.
From How to Train.
Oh man. His name is Andy.
No.
That time he gets
His name is that's Toy Story.
This is terrible.
Wait, Hiccup! His name is Hiccup! Oh, JT, coming up.
Haddock the third.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I like how they made Hiccup older, and they let the kids, and I'm hoping in the 3rd chapter of that they're going to be even older.
Yeah.
Which they're saying is the final the journey between Hiccup and Toothless. So they did a trilogy as kids. What if they're now more teenagers? That would be an interesting approach.
Interesting. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, just in terms of because I mean, chances are they are going to continue this. There's no reason not to, especially if it's going to make money. But the thing for me about these movies is we are currently in the midst midst of a blockbuster, like constantly seeing superhero movies come onto the blockbuster screen. Obviously, we're getting like something like 8 this year. But what Despicable Me does legitimately bring that's different to the table is that it's a supervillain story. Like it is obviously he doesn't wind up being like a quote unquote supervillain doing these horrible things because it's animated and for kids. But the idea that you can have a completely different narrative than what every other superhero blockbuster is telling, there is an infinite number of stories that can be told within that spectrum. So yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of opportunity to explore.
It's true, and there's also, I think, an underrated movie that came out at the same time. It was Megamind with Will Ferrell,
right,
Tina Fey, Brad Pitt. It's actually really kind of a funny movie, and I think it didn't do as well as this. And I think because the Minions ended up helping Despicable Me push it over that edge. But Megamind's another one where he's the bad guy going at superhero. Brad Pitt plays a superhero, and then the superhero dies in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So then the supervillain's like, "What do I do now?" Type of plot, which is it's actually kind of clever and really fun.
I like Megamind.
This was a cool genre that spawned, and I'm excited. I think there is enough to mine from it. I agree.
It's also difficult because when you're in animation, it feels like it does have to sort of either go the Pixar route and like really appeal to adults and also to children, but it's harder to make a more purely for kids movie that will bring in the Andy Signors. But I feel like this is the one that does it really well. I just get worried when we start seeing it get into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Danielle.
As a fan of the Furious franchise,
That's the one franchise that does it. Danielle, what's going on, girl?
Well, over here on Soch, we're seeing a lot of minion fatigue.
Yep.
Some of I'm not even gonna. Some of them, you guys would like the minions to die very violently for a child's
You
movie.
guys, don't do that. They're friends. That one terrible short with all the dog poop. Don't let that turn you off. They're still good.
Short.
Yeah, but
Right?
we do have one. BG Spider-Man also says that if it gets back to the style of the first and the second movie that they're in. So.
Yes.
Well, that's cool.
And I think this gives it I felt that a little bit more here. It's like the kids are back, Lucy's back. There's enough of those characters that I'm excited to see them, and I wish they had done that instead of Minions. I think Minions was a complete. They overdid it. It wasn't even just Minions the movie. Do you guys remember that campaign? I mean, you couldn't get away from yellow Amazon boxes. It was just like, oh my God, go away.
Well, and here in LA, there is a giant minion on top of the Universal City Walk like parking structure, and still, whenever I see it, I still have like a moment where I'm like, man, you kind of suck. A little bit.
They
Not
overdid
that
it.
bad,
They doubled down. They
Little bit.
quadrupled down on the Minions.
But I have a lot of hope for this movie, and I think that Despicable Me 3 could be something that we will be talking about later on, going, this is what children's movies should be.
Sure.
Like, this is how you bring in adults and children and make them all happy, because it's a 4-quadranter.
Exactly. I mean, I'll even also just throw in credit to the animation, because they are doing classic kind of squash and stretch kind of deals. Obviously, I mean, it's been since the beginning, the character designs, but they are very different. It has its own specific style, and that's definitely something you can appreciate about these movies. So if you just want to keep that moving.
And they always have really creative, like even with the parrot, like this, the look is really cool. The ships are, just everything comes together really well. I do like the style of how they do animate these movies.
Absolutely. And we want to know, what about the trailer got you guys excited? Let us know in the comments below. You can tweet us at SJ News. Make sure to like and subscribe. Of course, you can always click here for more awesome Screen Junkies news, and we'll see you again soon.